Taking place in the 90s, the Autobots have figured out a way to return to their home planet of Cybertron, but they will need the help of two humans and another group of Transformers hiding on Earth known as Maximals. But it's a race against the clock, and, yet again, another group of Transformers are looking for the same plot device. The evil Terracons are in the service of a world-destroying Transformer known as Unicron, who wishes to feed on the Earth. Can the Autobots and Maximals defeat the Terracons and Unicron before it's too late? Let's address the elephant in the room. I am not a fan of this franchise. I have loathed pretty much every single live-action Transformers film, including the somewhat praised 2007 film. The plots are incomprehensive, the characters are sexual and racial caricatures, the Transformers themselves, with the exception of Optimus and Bumblebee, are indistinguishable from one another, and the movies are overly long and bloated. So why am I even bothering to review this one? Because fairly recently, I watched the 2018 prequel/reboot film, Bumblebee. It was not directed by Michael Bay, but instead Travis Knight. And it was very good. It had a charming story, a likable human protagonist, and it gave us Transformers that looked like the characters from the 80s cartoon and toy line. Meaning, for once in this franchise, I could tell who was who. I was a big fan of that film, and I assumed that this was the start of a full-on reboot, which I was all for. But this film was not directed by Travis Knight, it was directed by Stephen Caple Jr. Not a bad director, but I'm not as big of a fan of his as I am Travis Knight, who has given us some fantastic stop-motion animated films, like Kubo and the Two Strings. Nonetheless, I went in open-minded, and as the credits rolled on this film, I said to myself, this film is perfectly fine. Transformers Rise of the Beast is a perfectly okay film. It's not as great as Bumblebee, and it's not as insulting as The Last Knight. It's just alright. The human characters are just there. Noah and Elena are not as interesting as Charlie was in Bumblebee, but the actors don't do a bad job in the slightest. The Autobots act pretty much as you'd expect them to act, and at least I can tell who's on the team and identify which is which. The effects, music, and cast is all there, but my problem is that it's as basic of a plot as you can get. It's a reluctant hero thrust into an adventure, mixed with a MacGuffin from the past that the heroes and villains are in a race to get. That's what kills the movie for me. A point-by-numbers plot that has been done a dozen times. And I know that nothing is inherently original anymore, but couldn't we at least focus a little bit more on the Maximals? Couldn't we develop Unicron? Couldn't we get rid of that laughable ending that is nothing more than an excuse to set up yet another cinematic universe? For a film that is given the subtitle of Rise of the Beast, we don't really focus on the Maximals until pretty far into the film. It's more about the Autobots and Terracons. Again, Unicron takes a backseat to his henchman Scourge, and I have to say, as someone who greatly enjoyed the 80s animated movie and knows who Unicron is, I am amazed how he is not the main villain. You know people are tired of Megatron and the Decepticons, and I'm grateful they're not in this, but why not build up how much of a threat Unicron is and actually give him a character as well? And that ending. People are either going to get a kick out of it or find it ridiculous. I thought it was the dumbest thing in the whole movie. I won't spoil what it is, but man oh man, I hope it's not addressed in the sequels. With all this aside, I will say that what holds the film together is the voice cast. Peter Cullen knows how to voice Optimus and continues to be the glue that holds this car wreck of a franchise together. Ron Perlman, Peter Dinklage, Michelle Yeoh, even Pete Davidson, despite having some annoying moments, they all make this somewhat boring experience tolerable. By no means is Transformers Rise of the Beast a terrible film. In fact, even though it's not saying much, I would say it's the second best live-action Transformers film. But the problem is the boring as heck basic plot. Transformers deserves so much more than that. Still, there are some cool action scenes that should entertain, and again, the voice cast elevates the material. Even with that though, I'd say this is a movie that should be streamed only, not even worthy of a matinee. Thanks. This is an O.M.M review. This is O.M.M signing out.